All righty, folks. So in our continuing coverage of this mess of a crew of candidates looking to take Donald Trump down as the president, I've been focusing a lot of my attention recently on some of the things Mayor Bloomberg has stood for, not just things he said, and the things he's actually stood for. We pointed out his comments recently on the show about redlining, where he basically blamed the whole mortgage crisis on the elimination of redlining and mortgages in minority communities. I just outlined some crazy things he said to women employees and other. But somebody who's been up close and personal in this for a long time, veteran, superstar, reporter, political reporter, and analyst for Verizon TV and RNN, Dominic joins us now. Dom, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes.
It's an honor to be here with you. You're the man.
Last time you were here, I was down in Florida, and I was really mad. I missed you.
Okay, well, we're here now together.
So thank you so much. And for those of you who don't know, Dominic is a prominent figure here in New York and across the country, but he's actually moderated some debates and been up close and personal with Mayor Bloomberg.
I have.
Dominic, I am confused about Bloomberg, and I'm not really that confused because I know the New York political scene. We know, and I've documented it on this show, that he uses his philanthropic arm to go around and seed some money into elected officials' favorite charities, and that kind of gets him some favorable treatment. It actually, in my view, bought him a third term. But what do you make about some of this stuff? Like, his team seems to be framing these stop and frisk remarks just about stop and frisk. And to me, it sounds like his philosophy when he says minorities cause 95% of the crime, and that's where all the crime is. What do you make of this? You've been watching this guy for 20-some odd years.
I was covering Bloomberg before he became mayor. And the one thing I want to say, John, is if he is the eventual nominee, don't sleep on him. President Trump is quite formidable with the economy and so on, his list of accomplishments. But a general election contest between the two, it would be something to watch. Bloomberg, his Achilles heel, if you will, would be stop and frisk. And that's something that's going to follow him throughout this campaign. He has gone on record in a very verbal way. Even former Mayor Giuliani that started stop and frisk said, hey, wait a minute, Bloomberg took it to an entirely new level that Giuliani folks only did 100,000 stops, meaning of predominantly African-American, Latino males. Bloomberg came in and according to Giuliani, excelled the program to 600,000. I even covered the federal case, the civil rights case in which Bloomberg, the practice was termed unconstitutional. So, John, it's something that will stick around, but I think that he's got some traction, and I don't see him slowing down anytime soon.
So now, the last time you were here, Frankie was filling in for me, but you made a prediction that Bloomberg was going to actually fly up in the polls. You thought that he was going to have a significant effect on this thing. A lot of these other loony birds are out there, well, he can't buy his way in and everything else, but you know this stuff from the street level, Dom.
Right. Just like you do.
Well, I'm trying my best, but we all want to be like you at some point.
Thank you.
What do you think now? It looks like, to me, I see, the Hillary folks were behind this shadow app that was used in Iowa, and all of a sudden there was a murky outcome there, which didn't pick a real leader, real front runner, and then they went to New Hampshire, and Bernie won the votes, but again, they tied, and there's this murky picture, and now all of a sudden Bloomberg it looks like they created a lane for him to run, right up the middle. You think he keeps ascending here?
Absolutely. I think at this point, and it's a prediction I'm going to make on this show, Bloomberg is a Democratic nominee.
That's what you think.
I'm almost willing to bet my life on it. I don't see anything that can stop him. You have a weak field of Democratic candidates. Let's be honest. You never know what can happen in politics. But there is no way in the world the Democrats can put forth Bernie Sanders as their nominee in terms of all the promises that he's made without giving any real specifics or how he's going to pay for it, or I should say being for the American people being able to pay for it. And so that's why you're looking at Bloomberg taking off. John, I was in Massachusetts over the weekend, and I kid you not, watching a television show on ABC, some network, a Bloomberg commercial came on this is in the expensive Boston market, came on every single commercial break. That's the type of advertising.
Right.
And so the difference with Bloomberg is that we've seen wealthy candidates before. But let's be honest. Normally, they're sometimes a little Looney Tune.
Yeah. Tom Steyer, for example.
Right, and they don't have the ability to connect with the American people. I am telling you, I've been with Bloomberg in Los Angeles, all over the country, in New York. When you sit down with him, he's not Bill Clinton personality, but you can relate to him. I know that's hard to believe, a guy that's worth $50 billion.
Yep.
But you can relate to him, and I'm telling you, this guy is headed to the nomination, and anything can happen in the general election.
Yesterday we saw Al Not So Sharpton coming out with some comments about him, and saying, well, we can't let him be all the talk. We have to keep our eye on the racist remarks of some of the other candidates. So it looks like, to me, Al Sharpton's got the kettle out, and he's ready to start collecting whatever dough he can to get back on Mike Bloomberg's side. But he's setting up his own reparations system, it seems like to me. And we know how Sharpton works.
Some have said that. Some have said that. Sharpton is always somewhere in the background. We'll see. Bloomberg has a lot of money. And the one thing I want to say, John, I know that some people are turned off by this, but Bloomberg is the guy that will spend it. Right?
That's right.
He has spent, $300 million on television so far? Yeah. More than all the other Democrats combined?
That's
$350,
scary.
right.
Yeah.
It's scary. And so when you look at the Democratic field, and we have to assess this in a candid manner, none of them are competition against President Trump.
I don't think so.
President Trump has the personality. President Trump has the economy. President Trump has the record to run, a strong record to run for re-election on. Even with President Trump's, if you will, weaknesses that some say in terms of minorities, even there he's delivered. When you look at, he released that woman from prison where the campaign did the commercial on her.
On the First Step Act.
That's right.
Yeah,
so
he's done stuff in the criminal justice reform.
So to think that President Trump is some may say weak, oh no, you're making a big mistake.
I think so too.
Trump, Bloomberg.
Scary. It could be a scary fight. I take Trump in that fight every day of the week. And, we had Hillary spend almost $1 billion last time. And Trump, while people thought he ran this big, great campaign, he had a smaller operation. He only spent a couple $100 million. But they did their homework and they got into those places. I want to ask you this, because you're a veteran moderator and you've seen all these debates. How do you think he's going to do tomorrow when he steps up on that little crate and gets behind the podium at his first debate?
That's a great question. It's the $1 million question. Having moderated a debate with Bloomberg before, as he was running for re-election as mayor, I didn't know if he could hold his own, frankly. That's what I was expecting. But he did quite well. The Democratic nominee at the time was an African-American by the name of Bill Thompson, had moved through the ranks in terms of moving up, and Bloomberg held his own. Tomorrow night in Nevada, and it's interesting because he's not on the ballot, but he's going to be in a debate.
That's crazy.
It's going to be interesting to watch all the other Democrats gang up on him. Right. And so I'm sure Kevin Sheekey, his campaign manager, and Howard Wolfson, who worked for Hillary Clinton, they're working with him right now to get ready. It's gonna be very interesting. But imagine a general election debate between somebody who can debate very well, President Trump, and Bloomberg.
I'd like to see that one. I think that'll be primetime television. Hey, before you go, I used this morning. This is from one of these depositions when Bloomberg got sued way back, and it's like a double whammy. Okay, this is something that was alleged that he said about a woman who wanted some extra time off work because she just had a baby, and he said it's a blanking baby. All it does is eat and blank. It doesn't know the difference between you and anyone else. All you need is some black who doesn't even have to speak English to rescue it from a burning building. So I'm thinking, does he have a problem here with both women and minorities with some of this stuff that's going to keep coming up for him?
Well, the women issue is something that dogged him from the campaign for mayor when he was first elected. The kill it. Mark Green, who was the Democratic candidate up against Bloomberg at the time, Green was considered the shoe-in for election, and Bloomberg came out of nowhere and won. Sounds familiar as to what could happen this time around. But Green ran television commercials, quoting from the deposition that said, kill it, kill it. and it didn't stop Bloomberg back then. But to keep in mind, John, 9/11, the city was still reeling from a year
That's right.
after 9/11. So that's how we first got to know Mike Bloomberg.
People were probably looking for more of a chief executive at time, in
Yes.
a time of real tumult.
This issue, though, is not going away
No,
as far as the women or the stop and frisk.
I don't think it's going away either. And hopefully this guy right here doesn't go very far away, because we need him anytime we can get him. Thanks for
you.
joining us
It's an
for a
honor to
Liquid
be here
Lunch. A
with you,
pleasure
man.
to
Thank
be
you.
here with you.
Thank you.
You stay right there. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Tom Keogh, CEO of Kingbridge Strategies and advisor to the USDA. We're also going to have Tracy Beans a little later on. He's the editor and founder of Uncover DC. Quick break, more Liquid Lunch for you right after this.